So not long ago, we were talking about Henry To'o, the transfer from Tennessee to Alabama, and the impact I believe he can have for the Alabama Crimson Tide defense in 2021. But today, I want to flip to the other side of the ball, because there's another transfer that I think could pay massive dividends for the Crimson Tide this upcoming season, and that is Jameson Williams. And he's also been receiving rave reviews from the coaching staff, and so we need to talk about it. But we also need to get into some injury news and the impact this could have going forward. Before we do though, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. Hop down in the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe that Jameson Williams can have a big season for the Crimson Tide in 2021? Let me know what you're thinking there. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and I have a lot planned for this upcoming season. And if you did enjoy this content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself. But with all of that being said, let's kick this off talking about Jameson Williams, the Ohio State transfer to Alabama, because he addressed an instant need, and that was speed. We heard Nick Saban talk about in the spring that this was a group that he was excited about in the wide receiver room, but they were looking for some more speed. Jameson Williams comes in here, and he is a guy that can legitimately fly. He can really stretch a defense, which makes them respect the over-the-top, which just opens up everything for every other playmaker on the team. But his impact isn't just relegated to speed alone, because I think as time went on and some of these freshmen really got to come into their own, the Crimson Tide now are in a position where they have a lot of guys that offer that speed. And I think that's indicated in Matt Rhea's post on Twitter, where this Alabama wide receiver room is actually faster than last year's Alabama wide receiver room, which is incredible when you think about losing Waddle and Devontae Smith and the speed both of those guys had. That truly is unbelievable. So I think there are multiple outlets of speed in this wide receiver room. The thing Williams offers, though, that is so key along with the speed, because let's not downplay that, his speed is key, it's the legitimate college football experience that now you can pair along with Slade Bolden and John Mechie. Mechie and Bolden were really the only two Alabama wide receivers that had any sort of tangible game experience. We saw bits and pieces of Javon Baker last year, but Mechie and Bolden were the two that really got the live action. And because of that, this was a year that, as talented as this Alabama wide receiver room is, even before you add in Jameson Williams, the names are head spinning. How much potential is in this room? You didn't have the experience you may have liked. Whereas now you're looking at a situation where you have three guys who are going to be seeing a lot of play this year in Mechie, Williams, and Bolden that have legitimate college football experience, and that experience can really help accelerate the learning curve of some of these younger guys behind them, because this wide receiver room is unbelievable. I just want to go through some names here so you can get a grasp of how talented they are. You have Jameson Williams, John Mechie, Javon Baker, Trayshawn Holden, Tyu Jones-Bell, JoJo Earl, Slade Bolden, Christian Leary, Ajayi Hall, and Ja'Cory Brooks. All of these individuals anywhere else are getting massive time and reps. This is a really talented room with a lot of potential. It's just the lack of experience is something that personally I am so excited for Williams to come in and offer that experience, because this is a room that I think will very much well benefit from it. And it's not just the room in its entirety. We can pinpoint an individual that I think will be a massive beneficiary of this transfer, and that is John Mechie, because he was Alabama's wide receiver 1 this year, but the question was who's going to step up and be wide receiver 2? And 3, who's going to offer some pressure off of Mechie? Now we're looking at the situation, and those two can coincide beautifully if I had to imagine. I think that's a match made in heaven between those two. I think that they're going to feed off of each other, and the room will feed off of them as follows. This not only is relegated to helping the wide receiver room, the tight ends now have someone that the defense knows can legitimately stretch the field, and so now the tight end play can open up a little bit more, which opens up everything. Y'all have heard me talk about this 100 times, that great tight end play, great running back play is something that can really spring a lot for a offense, especially with a new quarterback. And speaking of Matt Rhea's post, we saw the speed gains across the board. I am very excited for this running back room because I think it could be a really special unit. The ability to have that speed plus the experience to pair along with Mechie and Bolden to go along with the unbelievable Alabama wide receiver room behind them is something that should pay massive dividends for the Crimson Tide offense in 2021, and just goes to highlight the importance importance of some of the transfers Alabama got in, because Henry To'oTo'o and Jameson Williams, those guys are serious playmakers, and Alabama is very happy to have gotten both of them. But let's talk about some injuries before we close this video out, because Nick Saban revealed that there's an injury to right tackle Kendall Randolph and safety DeMarco Willams. And I'll start with Randolph because I don't know the severity of either of these injuries. They said they were day-to-day, and so I'm not going to sit here and say we need to panic because I don't think either injury is going to be big enough to warrant a panic. However, just looking at this on face value, the injury to Randolph provides J.C. Latham with an opportunity to continue to get meaningful reps with the first team and against the first team defense, which is really going to accelerate his learning process. That's going to be big for the Crimson Tide in my estimation going forward. And Randolph is an individual who I think that will get back healthy and instantly come back in and be a key piece for this team moving forward. But the ability to develop depth behind him at a really serious rate is very important, and especially when we're talking about an individual as talented as J.C. Latham is. A 5-star out of last year's class. Every institution in the nation wishes he was on their offensive line this year. The ability to get him meaningful reps is big, especially moving into the Miami week, because I don't know the severity of either Randolph's or Willams' injury. So at least on the offensive side, you're looking at it to where J.C. Latham gets to get some really positive experience in. Looking at the defensive injury at Willams, this is a precarious one because Alabama has a few different ways they could go if he is to miss some time. Daniel Wright is an individual that has experience at that position, but we also heard Nick Saban talk about Brian Branch and how he's able to play multiple different positions in the secondary. The question now I'm asking myself is if Willams is to miss that game 1, could we see Brian Branch slide in there? I've always said a defensive alignment which provided Malachi Moore and Brian Branch to be on the field at the same time just spells excitement for me, because those dudes right there are a dynamic duo, and one that if they can be on the field at the same time, I'm all in for it. But I'm really interested to who will take over for Willams, at least until he gets back healthy, because I don't think either of these injuries are incredibly severe, but it is something to think about moving forward because it is allowing for individuals to get very legitimate and meaningful experience in the coming weeks before Miami. Hop down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking about all this. From Jameson Williams, looking to be an impact player for the Crimson Tide in 2021, offering experience and speed in troves to pair along with the wide receiver room that has all the potential in the world. Seriously, the potential of this Alabama wide receiver room is unbelievable. But also let me know what you're thinking about these injuries. You never want to see them, especially this close to a big season opener against Miami. But luckily for the Crimson Tide at that right tackle position, you have one of the top recruits in the nation from last year competing and getting really quality experience against really quality defensive front. And on the defensive side, you have Daniel Wright, who has experience at that position. Brian Branch, who also has experience in really meaningful games. We saw what he did in the playoffs and in the national championship. And I've always said a defense that allows for Malachi Moore and Brian Branch on the field at the same time is one that you can sign me up for. But I'm really interested to see how these injuries play out moving forward. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.